So Cole Trickle, worst name for a protagonist ever, or...
Oh my God, it did make me think of someone who was having trouble peeing every time I saw his name. And the fact that as a driver, it's on your car and your helmet, so it comes up all the time, that is a pretty terrible name. Cole is not a bad driver's name. I think Cole works. Part. Trickle is terrible. They had to have something better than that. Like,
apparently not. He sounds like a D-list porn star. Now, Harry Hogg, on the other hand.
Was his last name Hogg?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a porn star.
That's the better name right there. Why wasn't he Harry Hogg? Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And today we are discussing the, I thought it was an 80s movie. It's actually 1990 blockbuster Tom Cruise NASCAR movie, Days of Thunder.
Holy, 1990?
Yeah, it just snuck in there.
Ooh,
it feels like an 80s movie.
Oh, God, yeah. Watching this, the entire thing felt like it was just all about the 80s. But yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Around the time here, all of the drivers and like the racers in this race would be from around 1990.
I mean, I guess I know very little about NASCAR, which will come out as we go through the episode here.
I think what'll surprise you is actually I watched a ton of NASCAR at that time and was familiar with all of the drivers and like the circuit in the scene. This was something that was like a big part of my childhood.
That does surprise me. It probably surprised some of our listeners as well. They probably would have guessed me the other way around.
Yeah, I thought you were going to throw some stuff out at me probably about the, like, I don't know, obviously Confederate flags and the nature of
hang on. That wasn't in there, was it?
There was a zoom on the Confederate flag in the opening. Like, it wasn't even just, like, in the background. They showed it as a part of the, like, symbolism of the race culture when they got in there.
It was a different time, which will also come up later as we go through this. We'll be covering all of this because that snuck past me. Confederate flag. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure we will talk about that and everything else. But before we get to that, we have paired this movie with a beer as we always do. I think this is a fairly decent connection. What do you think?
Yeah. This one is called Thunderhead. That's the name of the beer. It's a West Coast style IPA. So obviously connects to Days of Thunder. Most of the people in there are gearheads, right? Being motor, like car racing people. So I think Thunderhead is an easy connection. This is from Canvas Brewing. They're out of Huntsville, Ontario. I don't think I've ever had a Canvas beer before. This will be my first.
Yeah, I hadn't before I got these ones. I tried a few more of theirs. They do a whole bunch of different styles. A lot of lagers and like Kolsch, Pilsner kind of stuff. Pretty tasty. I did not sample much of the IPAs for obvious reasons, but you know.
We know your preference is definitely lagers and sours, so this one might not be up your alley. I guess this beer's been around since 2019, so they've been around for about 5 years. Their first beer was a Kolsch, so I think they started out with lagers as their thing and expanded. They have pale ales, they have a West Coast and like a hazy IPA, so I'm excited to try this. I'm starting to get back into West Coast styles of IPAs lately.
Oh, because of the podcast? We've had a few of them.
Yeah, maybe the podcast bring me back. I was always going for like the super hazy East Coast.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
And I'm finding these easier to like drink a couple and not worry about the next day. I'm finding maybe the hop content in some of the others is destroying my stomach. So I've started to
You're saying hops are bad? I had no idea.
Hops are a diuretic. They produce diarrhea, so yes.
Wait a second, that's not what a diuretic is?
Yes.
I thought it makes you just pee.
Oh, no. I think they make you have very loose bowel movements.
If you're a medical professional and you can explain to us what a diuretic is, please contact us at the BMB Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Another connection here, West Coast IPA, and Cole Trickle, as we learn, is from California.
Oh, you're right. He gets made fun of pretty hard early in this movie because he's a California boy, not a racer.
He's not a good old boy, but he's also not a Yankee. I think the exact line is, if you're from California, you're not really anything.
It was. So, I wrote it down. I thought it was pretty funny the way we're making fun of him. But yeah, let's get into this beer. I'm excited.
All right, man. Let's do it.
Good old morning beer.
After the classic Simpson-Bruckheimer logo, we get the opening credits over shots of the sun rising at the Daytona 500, and pretty soon we're overtaken with the sounds of engines revving, close-ups of helmets, car hoods, and pit crews in action, and the not-so-subtle introduction of the man who will be the first dragon Cole Trickle has to slay to achieve NASCAR supremacy, Rowdy Burns. And again, what are these names?
Yeah, it's a lot. Rowdy is a pretty hilarious first name for a race car driver. Burns is fairly fine, but We're getting what looks like to be the big villain of the movie they're setting up here, but we're going to find out later that things will change. But yeah, Rowdy Burns get introduced. He crushes it here, just flying around the track, beating everyone out pretty easily. And I'm wondering where Tom Cruise comes in. This is actually my first time seeing this.
Yeah, I feel like it can't be my first time seeing this, but I honestly don't remember it. Like, all of this was new to me, so maybe I haven't seen it either.
I know I have seen pieces of it on television, right? I know that it's been one of those things that's come on, and I recognize the people in it, but I'd never sat down, or I don't remember sitting down seeing this. So I'm wondering where Tom Cruise comes in here. I know Tom Cruise is in it. I know Nicole Kidman. This is where they meet, I think, maybe.
Well, not at this point in the movie. You mean like in their romantic
life? Yeah, because they get married later. And then I know Robert Duvall's in this thing too.
Yeah, I didn't know that, or at least I didn't remember it. So yeah, we'll see him. He's Harry Hogg.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's a great name. Well, if you were hoping for more totally organic character introduction, you're in luck. As a car pulls up to an old barn, we learn, thanks to the Daytona 500 radio broadcast, that legendary crew chief, Harry Hogg, as we said, played by Robert Duvall, is out of the racing game, having retired forever after the tragic death of the last driver he worked with. Now, I say retired forever, but if there's one man with the intelligence, charisma, and never say die attitude to tempt him back into the NASCAR life, it's got to be Randy Quaid.
Oh, man. At least they have him here cast as a used car salesman, because it is the perfect role for Randy Quaid.
More perfect than Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon.
Oh, he is
fantastic. That fucking lawyer from Caddyshack 2.
Yeah, they're all good. I mean, he is just the best at playing sleazy asshole characters.
I wonder why that is. Weird, right?
I wonder what Quaid's like in real life. I don't know. He's probably just the nicest person you'd ever meet.
I don't think that's true. Hopefully we'll never find out. Turns out Harry's as skeptical as I am about all this, and he lists off the reasons why this can't work. First, Quaid might have enough money to build one car, but if that gets wrecked, he damn sure isn't going to be able to afford to build another one. Because of that, no driver worth a damn is ever going to sign with him, and, perhaps most importantly, the NASCAR season has already started, so all the good drivers are already gone. But Quaid won't be deterred, which leads us to this exchange.
Well, I got somebody.
Who?
Take a look at him.
Anybody I gotta take a look at ain't somebody.
And take a look at nobody.
Yeah, that's not going to get us all the way there, Randy.
Somehow it does.
No, he adds a little more after that.
Oh, yeah, this exchange is a bit rough here. We're getting that Randy is an opportunistic, car salesman. He's looking to build his brand so that he can grow and sell more. He really just cares about the money. And we know that Duvall is kind of a crotchety old race guy who he lost someone at the last Daytona 500, like you mentioned, and he's saying he doesn't want to get back in the game, but you can tell here that he's still got something going on. He can't let racing go. It's in his blood.
Well, that and Randy Quaid does have an ace up his sleeve. Turns out that Harry is under investigation due to that fatal crash, but if he agrees to come back to NASCAR, the investigation will magically disappear. Now, obviously this is an offer he can't refuse, but they don't have a car yet, so Quaid arranges to borrow one for a couple of laps to test the kid out. Gee, I wonder which driver they'll borrow a car from. Don't you have to fucking say it? Like, come on.
Richard Petty?
No. Come on, man.
Dale Earnhart?
Yeah, that's right. Dale.
Yes, Dale.
No.
Three. No, of course it's Rowdy's car.
Yes.
Yeah, they built this up so hard, so fast, and we get him, Rowdy, being a little grumpy about this. He gets out of his car, and the owner of the car mentions it to him, and he seems pretty pissed here. Even more pissed when he sees Tom Cruise roll up in the most ridiculous way possible. He comes right off of the set of Top Gun and right onto the stage of Days of Thunder here in that motorcycle.
God damn it. Right as soon as he says it too, it's like, I want to know who this driver is. And like right on cue, there's some pounding drums and motorcycle driving through like smoke. And I have to say, this is a fantastic way for Tom Cruise to enter this movie. But despite the super masculine entrance, I still feel like they're going to start chuckling when he has to introduce himself.
Absolutely, they will. I just thought it was so funny. This comes after Top Gun, right? Like, this is sort of he's already become a star, and and you can see that they're playing that up hard here. I laughed so hard when he drove through the smoke. And, we've got this giant 80s, drums and music in the background. Now, he's not a big guy, Tom, so he hops off the bike and they kind of have a little conversation here. What does Rowdy tell him before he lets him get into his car?
Basically, that if he fucks up the car, like he's gonna kill him. He's gonna cut his balls. I don't fucking remember the exact quote, but
yeah, exactly. It's a big measuring contest already.
Oh fuck,
right?
Get used to that. We'll have more of that later. So it turns out old Cole Trickle here is trying to make a jump to the big time because although he has won several races, none of them involve stock cars, which is of course what he'll be driving on the NASCAR circuit. It's more like indie stuff, like what they call open wheel driving, right?
Yep.
This prompts Harry to ask the obvious question, and Tom Cruise's response cracked me up.
What do you know about stock car racing?
Well, watch on television, of course.
You've seen it on television?
ESPN. The coverage is excellent. You'd be surprised at how much you can pick up.
Well, I'm convinced. Yeah.
Harry Hogg, not so much.
Give him the keys.
Harry is not convinced. In fact, Harry even says here that he doesn't want him to drive the car. He's worried about him wrecking Rowdy's car, and he's also worried about taking this like young gun on. He has no experience in closed cars, and he thinks that he's going to do a shit job. So we're going to see a really terrible lap or two, right?
Oh, yeah, of course, for sure. No, obviously not. I guess you really can pick up a lot from watching on TV because Cruise not only successfully completes a couple of laps in the stock car, he does it faster than top-ranked Rowdy Burns. That gets everyone's attention, from a crew mechanic played by John C. Reilly to Rowdy Burns himself. And this successful run, combined with the insanely intense look Tom Cruise gave while promising not to let him down, convinces Harry to build him a car. Well, kind of. They also have to wade through the murky history of why Cole is suddenly unemployed after winning a bunch of IndyCar races.
Yeah, they don't really go into too much depth here, but we do learn that he loses his car. So Robert Duvall assumes that he got fired.
Yeah, something's going on here, and Duvall knows it's not all on the level. We will find out later, but for now it does remain a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, we know going into this that this is all going to go well, and he's going to obviously be getting a car. Otherwise, we'd have no movie. So a lot of the buildup in this is kind of tough because you're like, you know there's no movie without this being successful, so it's hard to take some of these things seriously.
That'll happen a lot more as we go through it, too. It's all just fucking laid out for you, right?
Yeah, it's fairly paint by numbers. Effective paint by numbers in many ways. Like, it's working on the levels it's supposed to. I bet this was fantastically popular at the time.
Yeah, it was a big hit for sure. And with Harry locked in, it's time for a building the car montage. But first, we get a scene of him talking to the car's chassis in that old barn from earlier. Robert Duvall is really going for it here. There's like a haze as light filters in. He's telling it all the things he's going to do for it in a low, sultry voice. And at this point, 5 seasons into our podcast, I'm pretty sure you were thinking the exact same thing I was thinking, right?
No, explain.
He's going to that car.
Oh, it did feel like it. Yeah.
What is happening here? He's like seducing it.
Oh yeah.
It's weird.
Well, this is what we've learned. The best car builders are ones that are intimate with their chassis.
Oh, he knows that chassis. He knows every inch of it. He knows every inch of him.
Yeah, so pretty hilarious here, him talking to that chassis so hard. And we're going to have another moment of him talking to cars like that later. And you can tell that his true love is engines and tires and wheels, right?
Yeah, he's got a thing for chrome.
They don't show a lady or another man in his life in any other way,
no
right?
Kids, no evidence of kids. Yeah.
So, but like you said, this transitions from a very erotic talking to a montage of car building, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I'm like, this is picking up for Noel here for sure. He does not the car as far as we know, but he does build it with help from John C. Reilly and some others. So Tom Cruise is officially in the race. Not for long, though, as his first few runs do not go well. This is basically the comedy section of the movie. He's crashing into stuff. Robert Duvall is making sarcastic comments. And it all culminates with Harry telling Cole not to bother pitting his car because he and the rest of the crew are having ice cream. Tom Cruise loses his shit here, and that is not the last time I'll be saying that either.
No, it isn't going well. They are definitely, the other drivers are giving him the gears. They're crashing and bumping into him. They're not giving him space. They're doing all kinds of things to rile him up because, I mean, I think they do that with all rookies, but in particular one who comes in from California with a record of being good in open wheel, they're going to give a hard time too.
Well, it's also a difference between stock car and open wheel. Like, no one's fucking bumping an open wheel, so this is a very different environment than what he's used to.
Yeah, you would blow up those cars, right? Those bumps on open wheel cars will tear them apart almost immediately. So yeah, you avoid all of that contact. So this is new for him. It's interesting that Duvall is not helping him at all here. He's just like throwing him to the wolves. He's kind of trying to prove he's right, or maybe he's trying to avoid getting connected to another driver, which could die on that racetrack. They're kind of trying to set this up. But the ice cream thing's funny. He does lose his shit. He jumps out of the car and chases Duvall around. We get a lot of jokes about him chasing an old man around. That's common.
That does happen a little bit, yeah. Yeah, no one's happy here. You know who else isn't happy? Randy Quaid, who doesn't like that his new racing team has quickly become a laughingstock. He gives Harry and Cole a stern talking to, which quickly devolves into the two of them complaining about each other before Tom Cruise loses his shit again, told ya, and storms out. And with that, we've reached my favorite part of any Tom Cruise movie, the moment he goes from 0 to 100. I'm not convinced anyone does it better. You know what I mean? He's calm, and all of a sudden he's just like aggressively screaming.
He does it well. I'm trying to think now.
Yeah.
I think Nick Cage.
It's a great call.
Might take him in the 0 to 100 game.
Yeah,
he may have
that's
it
a good call.
on Cruise. But
Timothy Dalton in his James Bond movies, he'll occasionally.
He's
He's not afraid to shout at a lady.
Sean Connery.
Maybe. He was always more like less shouty and more like quietly menacing in that voice of his. But Cruise does it.
Yeah, he does. So he gets so we have another of those moments. They're done, right? This racing team is over. There's no more. Like this movie's done. We're just going home, and
it's a 14-minute long movie.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah. Once things have calmed down, Harry finds Cole at a bar and tells him they need to talk. This is basically a help me help you conversation, to steal a line from a different Tom Cruise movie. And after some back and forth, we finally figure out why they're having such a hard time communicating.
Well, hell, Cole, you're the driver. If you think she's running loose or tight, tell us. We give a turn here, take some wedge out there, we'll win some races. That's all there is to it.
I can't do that.
Well, why the hell not?
Because I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
That's the problem. He's an idiot.
He actually calls himself an idiot. It's amazing. I think the line is, "I'm an idiot. I don't have the vocabulary."
He doesn't know anything about cars.
Yeah,
and he just gets in there and drives.
And I think that's hilarious. And this was that moment where like they're patting themselves on the back for this writing, because they're like, yes, we've done it. He's now been vulnerable to Duvall, and Duvall's gonna now understand. It's time that they build a vocabulary together, and we're gonna get their training montage falling in love here.
Oh my God, that's really what it is. Yeah, now that Cole has revealed his terrible secret, he agrees to not only a crash course in NASCAR terminology, but also to try driving according to Harry's instructions, which, as we quickly see from a before and after tire comparison, does seem like it could produce results. I'm actually underselling this to a ridiculous degree. By the next race, he's like the perfect driver. Literally, he went from not being able to keep his car on the track to catching and passing Rowdy Burns for the win. That happened way, way too fast.
Yeah, that is a common thing. I know it's a racing movie, but the timelines on this become ridiculous quickly. He goes from, being just absolute shit to winning immediately once he listens to Duvall, or once they've found common ground. And then he's won 5 of the last 6 races out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I should mention too, it's not just Cole's driving ability that's improved dramatically by the next race. His relationship with Harry is pretty much perfect now too. They're polite and respectful to each other. Cole defers to him on everything to do with the car. They even have a friendly play fight in the team bus afterwards when it turns out Harry lied about putting special tires on his car. And if all of that doesn't show the deep bond forming between the two, it really gets hammered home when Harry pays for a hooker to dress up like a member of the highway patrol and bust him for having a concealed weapon. Spoiler alert, it's his
Yeah, this is funny and also fairly telegraphed, right? After the victory, they're driving down the highway inside their truck, drinking moonshine and crushing beers. When they get pulled over by the highway patrol, she does give him a strong pat down. And they do definitely show like leg bulge. I'm wondering if that was a prosthetic, or you think that was real Tom Cruise.
That's a great question. Yeah, he's not in the shot. It's a close-up of just the crotch, so it could have been a stunt.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, because like there was a long inseam there.
I mean, he's a smaller guy, but you never know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's true. It could have been him, but she pats it down, and they don't show anything here. They just allude to a good time being had by all.
Well, she rips her top off. I mean, she's a bra on, but it's clear that she's a prostitute.
Oh yeah. You know that she's been hired for some work.
Who are the other 2 guys though?
They
'Cause there's
look
two
like
other
real
troopers.
cops. They come
Yeah.
in real cops. I swear.
Maybe, yeah.
I swear the troopers were in on this. Maybe it was their day
maybe.
off. They got this is paid duty for them.
They
They're just
busted her earlier in the day, and now they got no. These are truly happy times, but we're about a third of the way through this movie, so we are overdue for some adversity. We get a brief tease in the bus when it's revealed that John C. Reilly is the son of Harry's previous driver, and that Harry might have been a bit more responsible for that death than he let on. But the real hit comes in the next race when Cole and Rowdy have a colossal wreck after trading paint with each other throughout the earlier laps. Their cars are totaled and they end up getting airlifted to the hospital, where Tom Cruise gets to deliver 150 cc's of incredibly dramatic acting. He can't see, Noel.
Yeah, and he is not good with that. He's asking for them to talk to him. He's even
so dramatic,
pretending like I'm used to having my crew chief here talk me through it.
Oh, I love that part.
Yeah, when he's in the CAT scan machine or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, fuck, man.
It's pretty good though. He's pulling it off here in terms of crashing and a little bit of panic. I think it was also through this section that we learned about his old owner being his dad and screwing him over. So we've got a bit more of a
that was in the
connection
bus.
here too.
Yeah.
So we now know his backstory. It's a bit tragic. His dad screwed him over, and now him and Duval are like son and father, right? So they built this, and then right as we get everything perfect, like you said, we have this big crash. He went high, which is what you're supposed to do to avoid the crash because all the cars slide down.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Rowdy's car was still there.
It was there.
They didn't answer it. Like, that's kind of like a thrown controversy in there, whether he did that on purpose or not. Like, he didn't get out of the way.
If he did not turn out well for him.
No, that's true. You don't really want to be T-boned either. So I would assume he didn't. But things went badly. They both get airlifted, and now neither can race. This is tragic for the racing scene and for these two.
Absolutely. Obviously, though, Cole's eyesight returns, and when it does, he finally gets to meet the neurosurgeon who treated him, Dr. Claire Lewicki, who is played by Nicole Kidman. There's just one problem, though. She's a hot lady, so naturally Cole assumes that Harry's brought another hooker. She goes look into his eyes as part of a routine test, but in a move that would absolutely end his racing career today, he grabs her hand and puts it on his dick.
Oh, no, Doc, isn't this what you're really looking for?
Well, that's interesting enough, Mr. Trickle, but it's just not my specialty.
Harry and the crew are all laughing their asses off here, and I don't blame them. This is a hilarious misunderstanding. Those were simpler times, Noel.
This was a difficult scene for me.
Oh, what a shocker. I can't believe it.
Mostly because I have trouble with awkward comedy. When someone's embarrassing themselves, it was one of those moments where like everyone's seeing it coming. Harry tells him several times that she's a real doctor, and he does not buy it at all. And then after he grabs her hand and puts it on his groin.
That's tough for you, I'm assuming.
She took it really well. She was a pro in that moment.
His dick in her hands?
Yeah, just full grip.
She was a pro.
Stunt wang here, I think.
So you're saying women should have to be okay with that?
No. That is not what I'm saying.
That's what it sounded like.
Clearly, he would have been Me Too'd rightfully at that point for that one. That was not a good look. I don't understand how he didn't know her voice. Like, if you had your eyes closed and that person had been treating you and talking to you, you would have remembered her voice. It's very clear Australian accent, right? Like,
does she ever talk to him, though? I kind of feel like when he's in the CAT scan machine,
she talks. Oh,
she's got someone else
to the other. Yeah,
but when he first comes in, maybe.
Yeah, she talks to him, tells him he's going to be okay. I feel like he should have heard her voice several times before that moment. So for me, that was the problem I had with the scene more than the other.
That was the problem.
Well, obviously it's not okay, but it's
a
movie, right?
Yeah. Well, you might not have thought that last scene was funny, but what about two NASCAR drivers racing wheelchairs as a dick measuring contest? Come on, man. Head trauma and toxic masculinity. Always funny.
I laughed. It was hilarious as they were trying to race each other down there. And this is where, instead of being enemies, they're starting to build a bit of understanding with each other, at least a mutual respect here, right? Like, that's what's starting to be created between our two characters.
I mean, if the other guy is also willing to race you in wheelchairs, you've at least got something in common, right? But I guess the head of NASCAR, a fellow by the name of Big John, does not agree. He is none too amused by their rivalry and threatens to kick them both off the circuit if they don't stop smashing into each other. So I guess they're going to have to find a way to coexist. More on that in a second. And speaking of coexisting, Harry tracks down Dr. Lewicki and apologizes for what happened earlier, stressing to her that it was all his fault and telling her that she shouldn't write off Cole because of it. crew chief, car builder, wingman. Is there anything this guy can't do?
No, Duvall is the best. Harry Hogg
teed it
is,
up
yeah,
for it,
he's
man.
awesome. I actually wrote down that he was a sweet wingman in my notes. Too.
Yeah,
I thought
buddy.
that was hilarious. We're also getting some incredible 80s style soundtrack going on right here through this section. Very much in the sort of vein of Top Gun. We're getting a lot of those big symphonic things. I think it's Zimmer who's doing it.
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, I think he's the one who did the music, and it's coming across really well here in terms of supporting the feelings and emotions that we're supposed to be going through.
Oh, absolutely. They're hitting those beats for sure. Now, Cole and Rowdy still need to figure out how to get along, so while the owners of their respective race teams wait at a dinner reservation with Big John, they decide to settle things like men by racing rental cars on the beach. They roll into the restaurant several minutes late, having thoroughly smashed the shit out of these things, but also having gained that mutual respect like you were talking about. Still, I hope they sprung for the extra insurance, huh?
Oh, God, yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Otherwise, they have 2 wrecked cars that somebody's got to pay for. But
The valet did not know what to do with those.
they were both just smoking piles of
man.
metal at that point when they got up to the valet. It was kind of entertaining. It is interesting that there's no police chasing them after, like, driving on the wrong way on roads.
They're driving on sand. There's no roads.
No, they were on roads for part of it, too.
For
They
like
were all over.
5 seconds.
Yeah, but it was pretty funny.
Oh, definitely. Tom Cruise isn't medically cleared to race, but that isn't going to stop him from going to work as he tracks down Dr. Lewicki's address and phone number, which allows him to fill her apartment with flowers, balloons, and stuffed animals before calling to ask her out on a date. Unfortunately for Cole, he's so laser focused on this that he blows off the driver Randy Quaid has hired to fill in for him while he's out, which is going to have some serious ramifications later. Nobody ignores Carrie Elwise. Well, unless you count the entire movie-going public after The Princess Bride.
I was going to say, yeah, you don't fuck with Dread Pirate Roberts. Like, what are you doing here?
I guess Robin Hood Men in Tights was kind of a hit also.
Yeah, that was okay. I actually, like, I IMDb'd him during the movie because I was like, I know who this is.
Yeah.
And I went through a list of stuff, like, that I know but wouldn't have remembered him in
Except for
until
The
Princess Bride. And I was like, oh, I know who this is.
That's right.
Holy crap, it took a long time. But you're right. It's funny that he fell off the planet so hard after that because that's got to be one of the most popular movies from the 80s. One with, like, the most long-standing kind of, like, memory for people.
But he's not the part of that movie people remember. They remember Andre the Giant and Inigo Montoya, who you thought was the bad guy in fucking Invasion USA.
Yeah.
We drank a lot of beer for that episode.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Anyway, after greasing the wheels with the head of the hospital via some free NASCAR tickets, Tom Cruise has got his date with Nicole Kidman, kind of. And before you know it, we see them taking a drive through the idyllic North Carolina countryside to the official NASCAR testing center to have him cleared. She's impressed with the way he got all this done, telling him,
Boy, you're very quick.
Gotta see me drive.
he's driving to the hoop pretty hard during this physical exam. Does that count?
Oh, yeah. Well, so he is like staring into her eyes when he's supposed to be looking up and down and stuff. He's going hard. And then when she comes up after one of the tests, he plants a kiss right on her. Not very professional of him trying to get cleared to race, but he does seem like he's more concerned about getting together with her than getting back in the car right now.
Oh, yes. That's entirely why he's here. Getting cleared is incidental, but whatever. She does clear him for racing, and then she clears him for a different kind of physical activity. She fucking manhandles him here, grabs him, and slams up against the wall before aggressively making out with him. And I'm sure they tried to hide this somewhat, but she is still noticeably taller than him. You ever been with a taller lady, Noel?
Not taller than me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then I
Me
can only
neither.
assume you have never run into that.
I've
yet.
always been curious, but
Yeah.
the chances of me finding that or like move to Norway or something is pretty fucking slim. I'm very tall.
You'd need an Olympic volleyball player
Yeah.
to make that happen for you.
That's right, man. She is though, right? Like,
She's much, much bigger than him. It did make me wonder, like, that would have been an interesting part of their relationship. Tom Cruise is clearly a like charismatic, handsome, and fit guy. I
Very much
understand
so,
why
yeah.
women are attracted to him, but he is a little dude.
He's not tall.
No.
No.
But yeah, so they go from this physical to getting physical in a bed rather
Nice.
quickly,
Yeah.
right? We've got what is her laying there and him with a couple like sugar packets. I'm wondering why they're in bed with them, but that's neither here nor there. He's brought sugar packets to bed and he's teaching her about drafting, about how one car uses another to get up there. And really what it's sharing with me is that like drafting is the way you get to victory lane, and he does it and goes right for the so it was like victory lane is a vagina is the reference that I'm getting from this. That's
the lesson.
That's the lesson of this movie. Yeah,
that's good.
Draft behind someone until you can get into the vagina.
Oh, what? You let someone else do the work and you swoop in and just like scoop
that's what
the lady?
He said, basically.
Jesus Christ. Well, they also spend some time talking about their hopes and dreams, and she agrees to let him show her what's so intoxicating about driving fast, and he does, first on his motorcycle and then on Rowdy's speedboat. Unfortunately, Rowdy's hopes and dreams, building he and his wife's dream house with his NASCAR winnings, might be shattered as a bout of what he thought was seasickness turns out to be a broken blood vessel in his brain that will require surgery and could be career-ending. Now, I have to admit, I was kind of stunned here. It really seemed, like we said, they were setting him up to be the big bad in this movie. But if he's out of commission, they're going to need someone else. If only there was some super douchey actor who just turned up in the movie and had a reason to be mad at Tom Cruise's character. Wait a minute.
I was shocked that he became the big bad. They built Rowdy up so hard.
Yeah.
And then when that transitioned quickly to it being like Dread Pirate Roberts here, I don't
Carrie
know.
Elwes, yeah.
Yeah. What's his name?
Carrie Elwes.
Carrie Elwes, yeah.
Elwes?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I only know him as that character and nothing else. But yeah, I was surprised he was going to turn into the big bad. Cole is now clear to race. He's allowed to go back. Clearly, Rowdy can't. He's got to have that brain surgery. But is Cole going to be okay to race here? You think I know that he's physically cleared, but is his mental game ready to get back out there?
Well, that's the big question, and we kind of find out in a second. I love, though, that the second we need a new villain, we immediately cut to Randy Quaid reintroducing the Carrie Elwes character, the driver of now a second car that he's funding. Russ Wheeler is the character's name, and he swears they're going to work together and there's going to be no competition between them, but almost immediately he's just bumping Cole's car, blocking it in the pit, and he even does a thing where he tells him to go by, then smashes him to the wall and off the track. So things are not going well. Luckily, the near-death experience that wreck he was in has really mellowed Tom Cruise's character, and he handles all this with grace and dignity.
Yeah, it's not going great for Tom. He does a couple things. One, he blows up his engine on purpose because he's freaking out, and then afterwards, after his rival has won the race, he hops back in his car and T-bones him and his celebration lap.
It's unbelievable.
Oh. I was surprised we didn't get the good, like, jump out of the car, throwing the helmet at each other fist fight that we sometimes get in NASCAR.
Well, he had it with Robert Duvall earlier in the fucking ice cream scene.
No, it's true. But usually there's often a driver-to-driver of, like, fisticuffs, and I was hoping we'd get there in this movie, and that would have been the perfect scene for it, but maybe that wasn't in the rider, or maybe it was too hard to show them height-wise. I don't know.
Elwes has got the reach advantage.
Yeah.
No. Speaking of handling things well, Randy Quaid isn't exactly thrilled how this all plays out either.
He's destroyed both my cars. He's destroyed both my cars. You get He's fired. You get fired. You're fired. You hear me?
Everyone is just losing it here. Cruise melts down again in the next scene, backing his rental car into a taxi that honks at him when he's dropping Nicole Kidman off. Then she loses it on him for being selfish and scared. It's just emotion city, and it culminates with Tom Cruise staring forlornly out the window of a laundromat. This is it, Noel. This is rock bottom.
This pulled me back to the scene from
The Jazz Singer?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This is
Neil Diamond.
This brought me right back to The Jazz Singer.
If
the only
it had
thing
been
that rain. Oh my God. It was hilarious that he found the only laundromat in America that had a racetrack beside it. Like, he's sitting there watching people racing sadly.
Well, I thought it was just some guy doing donuts in a parking lot.
No, it was
okay.
like an off-road racetrack. So he found the only laundromat that had a racetrack beside it so we could watch these like rally or dirt cars battle against each other while he's doing his dirty laundry. He has definitely hit rock bottom here. And like, is this over? Is it gone? Or are we going to get a redemption story to end this bad boy?
Well, of course we are.
I
know things seem bad, but remember, in order for the phoenix to rise from the ashes, it must first burn. And having now thoroughly flamed out, it is time for Tom Cruise to begin his long climb back to the top. It starts with convincing Rowdy Burns to go to the doctor and get that brain surgery. He agrees on one condition. Cole has to drive his car in Daytona. See, Rowdy's sponsors are going to pull their money if his car doesn't finish in the top 5 for the year, so now he's the one convincing Cruise. And all I could think of here was, it is incredible how this situation just perfectly solves both their problems, isn't it? Bravo, screenwriter. Bravo.
Cruise wrote a lot of this, or he is named.
He
I don't know if he
didn't.
wrote a lot of it, but he is named.
He is
on there. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering what part he took based on that in the screenwriting.
Do you know who the other screenwriter is, though?
No.
The guy who wrote fucking Chinatown.
What?
Yes, one of the greatest screenplays of all time, Chinatown, widely considered. Like, they teach it in screenwriting class.
Wow.
That fucking guy wrote this. Robert Towne.
So then I don't think Cruise wrote very much.
Apparently the 80s were a tough decade for Robert Towne is what I've learned from this.
Yeah.
God damn.
Or maybe this was just a good cash-in moment for him.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Probably.
Who was it who was like, that movie was terrible I was in, but it just bought me another house?
Michael Caine. It was Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah, he just Michael Caine did
Which
here,
was
maybe.
a lot of fun. That's a good, you listen to that episode from our first season, Jaws the Revenge. Fucking really good time.
Tremendous.
So Rowdy's convinced now. Cole is convinced. That just leaves Harry, who refuses to even talk about racing the second Tom Cruise shows up at his door. He's convinced that Cole is too scared to be an effective NASCAR driver ever since that stunt he pulled in that training exercise that got Goose killed. This is the same movie, man. This is just fucking Top Gun in cars.
Oh, it is exactly
is.
Top Gun in cars. And as we transition shortly, our villain character just becomes Iceman. He literally has the hair and everything.
Fuck,
it is
man.
just
It's
insane.
oh, God. Yeah. Anyway, Cole pulls out the big gun here, asking Harry about what really happened with his last driver and implying that he might have pushed the driver to make the move that got him killed. This causes Robert Duvall to fire up at him, hitting him with some hard truths.
You think you'll hide from your bad luck in his car? And what the hell for Rowdy? If he could run tomorrow, he'd crash you to win the race. He's mean. He's no particular friend. So why?
Because he asked me to.
Horse shit! You just want to race again.
Yeah. So do you.
Cole just turning the tables on him here, but is it going to work?
Of course it's going to
Yes,
work.
of course it is. No, you're right. That's what that's telling us in this scene for sure. And speaking of scenes, we get another one where Harry talks to the car here. But this one is way less sexual and more prayer-like. But if the pool of liquid forming under the car is any indication, those prayers may not be answered. The other drivers certainly don't seem to think that Cole can pull this thing off, but they weren't counting on Nicole Kidman showing up to give him the world's worst pep talk. It basically boils down to, I wish I knew what you were thinking, and I can't watch you do this. Boy, this thing's all falling into place, huh?
Yeah, I mean, she is not a racer, not a racing fan. She wants his brain to be intact. So, but she's there to support him because
Is she?
Obviously,
Doesn't sound like it.
He did a good enough job in bed that she wants to go back. Like that's sort of what we're getting here, right? And so if he wins this race, he both gets to victory lane at the end of it and inside of her pants.
He gets to both the literal and the metaphorical victory lane.
Yeah, so this means a lot to him. It was funny, that scene where they showed all of the racers, and most of those were real racers and not actors kind of doing it, and they do a pretty good job.
One of them
here.
might have been producer Don Simpson, though.
That would have been hilarious.
He's listed in the credits for this. I don't know if he was one of the guys that spoke here, but he's in an earlier scene for sure.
That's funny. Yeah, this would be a good movie to be able to inject people like that, right? Like just pretend they were a racer.
Brief cameo, yeah.
Good cameo movie. But yeah, so there's mixed feelings about him. Obviously, the new villain has some bad things to say about him. It tells him he's going to put him into the wall and take him out if he gets near him. But
yeah, just full evil. All because he snubbed him on that phone call.
I know, it's so funny,
he
right?
got a less than enthusiastic hello.
Yeah.
That's
of all the motivations, right?
That's all it is.
At least the Iceman motivation in Top Gun is like two top people trying to
wanna be the
battle
best,
each other.
yeah.
Yeah, well, this one is just like, you didn't give me enough time when I came to like race for you.
You're too busy trying to get your dick wet to properly acknowledge me, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's what it is. So we get the big race now, the Daytona 500, and it's going poorly at first. Cole is in last and seems pretty nervous, which is what everyone was afraid of. But after he successfully navigates through a giant wreck on the track ahead, he regains his confidence and manages to get past Carrie Elways into the pole position. But things go bad again as his accelerator, or gas pedal as we non-NASCAR drivers call it, suddenly gets stuck, which means he can't slow down. Luckily, Carrie Elways is there to smash into him again, which causes the accelerator to dislodge, but also screws up his transmission. So we get a few seconds of tension here as Cole's pit crew desperately tries to get his car back on the track before the pace car passes him, which apparently would remove him from the race. So what do you think, Noel? Are they going to pull this thing off? Or?
This moment is a big deal in racing, right? Like if you are become a lap behind, there's no way you're going to pass everyone and catch up, especially that late in the race. They do a good job of building that tension. We even have the big boss, right? We have Randy Quaid get out there and help push him so that they get in front of the pace car. We know he's going to make it. We know he's going to blast out of the pits and in front of that pace car, and he's going to be right at the back of the pack. He only has a couple laps left, but I'm wondering whether he's going to be able to get to the front and race for the end here.
Yeah, this is all just so obvious. Like it's like the theme is, we've said it so many times already. He does not go last though. He ends up getting out. He's in I think 5th or 3rd or something, but there are precious few laps remaining. Unsurprisingly, though, Cole does manage to get all the way back to the front of the pack, where he and Elway start jockeying for position. Coming into the final turn, he prepares to make his move, telegraphing the same slingshot-type maneuver that he used to win his first race, which Carrie Elways totally has scouted. Only Tom Cruise knew he had it scouted, so instead of going high, he cuts underneath him, pulling ahead mere seconds before they reach the checkered flag. Cole Trickle has won the Daytona 500, and there is much celebrating. Unfortunately, there isn't much of a great end line here, even when he spots Dr. Lewicki in the crowd.
I thought you weren't gonna watch.
I lied.
If you want to hear a good I lied line, watch Commando. You'll have a much, much better time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, her line here at the end isn't super impactful.
No.
He wins that race. He wins Nicole Kidman's heart in real life and on screen. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they travel off together.
She thought this was all real.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly, this was an effective movie because it sort of won her over both there. We get these massive smiles and this great 80s ballad going on as he finishes this off. He's got to head back there and he's got to celebrate with his team. And we know that he needs to have one last moment with his true love, Robert Duvall.
I was going to say that the last thing we get is Cole reaffirming Harry's confidence in him and congratulating him on the win before they race each other to victory lane, smiling and laughing before a freeze frame sends us into the end credits, which feature an oddly patriotic song that seems to straddle the line between folksy pop and 80s hair metal. Yeah. What an incredible, bizarre way to end this movie.
The freeze frame or the
song?
Incredible
what was
song,
this fucking song?
Well, and it is like title track too. Like they talk about the Days of Thunder.
They mentioned the Days of Thunder. Yeah, man.
Which I mean I always love. Whenever we get a song that is themed out, I'm always down for that. I enjoy this. After the freeze frame left me with a smile, knowing how much you would enjoy it too.
I was gonna say something for everybody here at the end is what you're saying.
And they did a throwback to that race that they did several times throughout, where the old man runs and the young man chases after them. And as we're getting up in age, like that's going to be more of our experience.
We're going to be the Robert Duvall scene. Once upon a time, we could have been Cole Trickle. Fuck.
Now we're just hairy hogs.
That's yeah, man, absolutely. And that's, like I said, we're in the credits. That's all. So we're going to get to our ratings now. The way we always do this, we rate the movie on a scale of 1 to 10 2 times. 1 to 10 for how bad it is, 1 to 10 for how enjoyable. And the goal is to find movies that are a 10 out of 10 on both scales, or what we call the Crit 20. And I said before, this is just Top Gun in cars. That's not totally true, but there are definitely some similarities. I should point out, though, that Top Gun is way better than this.
Yeah. In terms of like
everything,
drama, pulling people in,
action, excitement.
I prefer Kidman to the leading lady in Top Gun.
Oh, Kelly McGillis. Yeah, Kelly McGillis is not my favorite, but I feel like, weirdly, since they were a couple in real life, I feel like his chemistry with Kelly McGillis was better than his chemistry with Kidman here. I don't know.
Really? Yeah, they don't have a ton of time together, to be honest, in this. I think
that's also true, yeah.
They give more time to it in the other movie. I do think that the villain in Top Gun is better. Like, I think
oh my God,
Val
course.
Kilmer crushes it way more than this. I do miss Anthony Edwards as his like buddy.
Yeah.
But Duvall is excellent.
I was going to say.
Like, that is the difference, I would say, in that. But yeah.
Fair. No, none of this is Tom Cruise's fault. He's doing Tom Cruise like always. Robert Duvall is good, but I'm not convinced Nicole Kidman knew what the hell she was doing at this point. Like, she's not good in this, I feel.
Her line delivery is fine. Maybe she just didn't have a ton to.
She didn't have a lot to do.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, there's a lot of scenes there, but yeah. No, overall, I have mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, we talked about this. It was very formulaic. Parts were incredibly obvious or telegraphed or both. And there was absolutely zero doubt that Cruise was going to win at Daytona. But on the other hand, they did hit those beats well, which I think you mentioned it earlier. Still, it's a little sad to me the guy who wrote Chinatown also wrote this. And the script wasn't even that bad. It was just so pedestrian by comparison. You know what I mean?
So it's more of like an expectations not being met thing.
I was just saddened when I found out who wrote it. Like I looked up who it was. Like, oh my God, really? The action was decent though. The racing scenes were good, although I can't vouch for the realism at all because I haven't watched a lot of NASCAR. The comedy was really clunky for me.
Wasn't a lot of it.
Well, there was that one montage where he's doing his first races, and I was kind of like, didn't really do a lot. And the Nicole Kidman romance didn't work, like I said, either, for me anyway.
Yeah.
But there was still a lot here that was effective, and I can see how this was a hit. So I'm only going to give this a 6 bad. What about you?
Yeah. Going into Top Gun, we maybe made a mistake.
I ate a lot of shit on Top Gun, yeah. And I'm fully accepting that.
And going into this one, I was wondering whether we had done it again, right? Like whether there was another moment where we're like, ooh, maybe this doesn't really belong. I think the biggest drawbacks for it for me was how formulaic it was.
Yep.
How there was no, like, you knew what was going to happen all the way along. I did actually think that the acting was fairly strong. I thought that some of the writing was kind of cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought a lot of the reactions were over the top. You talked about Tom Cruise exploding and having those moments repeat over and over again.
Yeah.
So I saw that too. But in terms of the depiction of NASCAR, in terms of the character relationships and the build and all of those things, I didn't think it was terrible. I actually had this as a neutral. I had this as a 5.
So that's what I had Top Gun as. And I'm like, I have to make it more bad than Top Gun because I do believe Top Gun's a better movie. So this is kind of I was kind of forced into a 6 here.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't remember what I gave it. Top Gun, maybe I gave that a 5 too.
No, lower.
Oh,
I think you went low.
I went like 3 or but I thought this was a 5. I thought it was fairly neutral. Other than it being like over the top and incredibly formulaic, I thought it was effective in what it was trying to do. And I thought that Duvall was quite strong. I thought that Cruise did a good job where he was supposed to. And we're going to head to my enjoyment here in a second.
How enjoyable did you find this one at a time?
The NASCAR aspects of it were a lot of fun for me, right? It pulls me back to a time. My family was super big into cars and racing, and it was something that every Sunday, like, I would watch this with my grandfather. This is, like, nostalgic for me.
Blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, no, my family used to go. Like, my family went to the Indy every year for a long time. They were those people in the inside of the track in those trailers watching the race, and, like...
The thoughts of an East Coast liberal elite Yankee like you being a huge NASCAR fan is mind-blowing to me.
We're not
Harry Hogg would have never let you behind the wheel of that car.
Oh, I can drive. Harry should let me try. But this, despite being formulaic and over the top, hit the right notes for me. The music, the action, the pace was actually quite quick. One thing I didn't throw at the bad, which I thought was kind of weird, was some of the timelines. They skipped a lot of stuff and got too far in relationships too quickly.
Well, and how fast he became like the world's best driver.
Yeah.
It happens like I snap my fingers. You can't see that.
That was
podcast.
fairly problematic. Yeah, I do agree with that. But I love Duvall Cruise. I thought the music, the cars, all of it worked for me. I had no problem watching it, and I would do it again. I had it as an 8 enjoyable.
Okay, very good. Very good. I'm going to disagree with you about one thing right away. I did not think the soundtrack for this was very good. Especially compared to Top Gun. Like, to me, it's night and day. This had like songs that were appropriate, but nothing that kind of like jumped out at you. I refuse to believe that Kenny Loggins was unavailable and like couldn't do something in this. How do you do this without him performing a theme song?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. We didn't have a big hit in this, right?
No.
Like there was one song.
And there's an Elton John song in there, and there's they're name artists, but again, just get Loggins. Like, was that the Top Gun connection they were worried about? People might think it's too similar if Kenny Loggins is on the soundtrack. Come on.
Loggins could have crushed it here.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. That would have improved my enjoyment for sure.
Absolutely. I'm projecting here a little bit. Who knows if that would enter the thought process at all? Because there are a lot of similarities to Top Gun, which I actually didn't like as well. It seemed a little like Robert Towne just fucking was like, let's put this thing on the ground.
I need another house.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Things I like though, Tom Cruise, the hooker prank, the dick grab when Tom Cruise thought Nicole Kidman was another hooker. What else? Always nice to see Randy Quaid. No, I'm just kidding. The man's a lunatic. The racing scenes were a lot of fun. I don't know shit about NASCAR, but I had a good time with those scenes. And although it's patently ridiculous, I really enjoyed them racing the rental cars on the beach. Just fucking silly, but I was totally there for
Those
it.
wheelchairs were great too. I just thought that was so funny.
I could see that coming before they did it,
Yeah,
and I was like, but I wasn't that happy about it. The things I didn't like I said, the Top Gun similarities, Nicole Kidman's part in this didn't do a lot for me. The comedy was not great for me. But overall, like I had a good time, definitely more good than bad, and I will probably watch this again as well. I had it as a 7 for enjoyability, but with the freeze frame, I'll be bumping it up to an 8 as well, as is the custom.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
man.
pretty similar on this one. Fun time though, right?
Yeah.
Like
I love this for early in our 5th season here, especially coming off like our last episode. It was a movie not a lot of people know, so it's good to get out with a hit.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes we go to stuff that isn't as bad. Like, it doesn't have to be a 9 or 10 every time we watch a movie, right? It can be something that I like that it's borderline bad, right? This is one where maybe
we didn't know though, like coming into this. Like I knew it was a hit, but you expected it's going to be kind of cheesy and like whatever, and parts of it were. But
and so much of the movies we've watched from that time that were a hit, like Weekend at Bernie's is the one that jumps out for me. That movie sucked ass. Like it was a bad movie.
A video hit. It didn't do great in the theaters.
Yeah,
Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah,
I stand by that. That movie's a piece of shit.
Yeah, bad movie. And a lot of times we're not sure until we watch them again, right?
Yeah, definitely. But no, man, this was definitely worth it. I feel good time. What about this beer? You think that was worth it?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was really, really clean, right? Like it got a lot of the sort of traditional West Coast IPA notes. We got maltiness. We got that kind of pine lemony bitter flavor from the hops. Not super hazy, so sort of easier to crush, I would guess, for you and for me as well.
Well, so that's the thing. I'm going to kind of maybe surprise you here. I had one of these before.
This is your second
This is my second go with the Thunderhead. And when I first had it, I was like, oh, fuck this. This is awful. Like I thought it was like more hoppier than a traditional West Coast IPA. It reminded me more of like a New England or Northeast.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone in Vermont.
Yeah.
A Northeast IPA. But having had it now a second time, I'm going to reverse course on that and actually say that it was pretty clean and easy to drink. I like pleasantly surprised, especially because the first can I tried, I was like out on it. This was not totally terrible. You got a fucking glimmer in your eye right now. I don't like it. No, man. Like, put it this way. I've had to drink a lot worse stuff for this podcast and probably will again in the future. If you're not an IPA person and someone in your life is like forcing you to drink an IPA, I think this is a great choice. I think you'll get out pretty clean. Canvas, again, I've tried a few of their beers now. I've enjoyed a lot of them. If you like a lager, if you like a Kolsch, they've got stuff worth trying for sure. I would like to try their pale ale. I haven't had a chance to try that yet, so hopefully I get a shot in the future. But no, man, clearly an exciting new brewery. And if you're ever in the, newish, 5 years old.
5 years old, yeah.
If you're ever in the Huntsville area, definitely try it. I think they also ship throughout Ontario, maybe.
Nice. Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but yeah.
Yeah, I drive through there every summer, and I've never stopped, and now I'm going to make a point of doing it. I would like to try some of the other beers they have. They have a lot of traditional styles, and I think that after having this, they probably do a good job with all of them. So I would like to go try them for sure. So if you get a chance, if you see Canvas Brewing, grab a beer from them. I definitely recommend.
There you go. 2 weeks from now, here's something that you would never recommend because in 2 weeks, we're going to be watching a movie from one of your least favorite directors ever. We're going to be watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's your boy. We're going to be watching The Village.
I have never seen it.
It's basically the turning point where, like, after Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs, this is the one where people started being like, I don't know. Although you hate Signs, which is mind-blowing to me.
I liked Sixth Sense.
Everyone liked Sixth Sense.
Unbreakable was not bad.
Unbreakable is fucking great. It's better. I will go to my grades.
You think it's better than Sixth Sense?
Yes.
I think just the surprise the first time you see Sixth Sense is what makes that movie what it is. I did not like Signs. I was very
Signs was a massive hit.
Yeah,
loved by many.
I hated it. And so
before you even found out about Mel Gibson.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Which has just made you hate it even more
Well,
now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is hard because I love Braveheart, but, trouble. But yeah, so I never saw this because of my reaction to Signs. I never saw The Village.
Yep.
When I think of it, I think of like, what was the B movie we watched? The one with Nick Cage.
Oh, sorry. By B movie, you mean like with bees? Yeah. The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man. So to me, when I picture The Village, I picture the community in The Wicker Man. Like that's what I'm thinking. But I have no idea going in what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like kind of like old school life and things that happen in that.
I can't fucking wait to find out what your reaction to this is, because like for someone who's out on Shyamalan, this is again the point where kind of everyone turned on him, and I can't wait to see what you think about this.
So do you think I'm going to either really like it because it surprised me, or do you think I'm going to just lose my mind on Shyamalan's decision making?
Honestly, 50-50.
It could go either way.
It could go either way.
I'm excited that we're on such a precipice here. I like the idea that I could just fall off the cliff, or maybe I get a good strong hold and I do a good cliffhanger here. I have no idea.
There you go. And you know what? I strongly encourage everyone to come back and listen to that one in 2 weeks to see where Noel lands in this, because I have my own thoughts and opinions on The Village. We're going to get into all that 2 weeks from now. Before then, if you have not already, please follow us on social media at the BMB Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, feel free to send us emails, thebmbpodcast@gmail.com. Would love some feedback, some suggestions for beers and or movies.
Absolutely. It's early in our 5th season. We got time for some audience requests. We got a couple comments, though. We can fit some more in. You never know.
It's always, we will, or we often do rejig our schedule to fit some of those requests, because to us, having you do those is wonderful. If you have a chance, feel free to leave some feedback by giving us a review or a like on any of your podcast platforms.
We'll take them all. 2 stars and above.
Yeah, absolutely. Mom, I'm still holding that against you.
It's not your mother. Anyway, thank you for joining us today for Days of Thunder. We hope you'll be back in 2 weeks for The Village. Until then, I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And we'll see you next time on Bad Movies and Beer.
Keep that pedal down all the way to victory lane.
There you go. Yeah. You can't outrun the thunder.